Welcome to Inside Sim Racing, and I'm here to report on the 4th annual iRace4Life seminar that took place on March 5th through the 7th of this year in South Lake, Texas. I was there on hand to report on it again like I did last year. Here's the schedule of events from this year's seminar. Starting Wednesday, March 5th, sim racers from all over the world, but mostly in the Texas region, started showing up to set up their personal sim racing gear. This year, Sion Alford, who's the host of the seminar, decided to set up 5 rigs for the general public to try out and for those sim racers that showed up without their own gear. With the addition of those 5 rigs, that brought the total count to 47 racing rigs, 42 that were brought by attendees. I mentioned that there were people from all over the world, and we had 3 attendees that were there from Australia, Brazil, and the UK. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch up with the guy from Brazil, but made 2 new friends, Stewart Munro from Australia and Martin Ballard from the UK. Both were great guys, as were all the guys and ladies that I met at the tournament. There were some wives that and girlfriends that came along, as well as my wife, who I'd like to thank, Andrea, who was a huge help, who helped me grab a lot of the footage from this event, took pictures, and it was just great to have her there by my side. So, have any of you out there ever been to a place where there were almost 50 sim rigs set up to race on in a tournament fashion? I don't know about you guys, but I've never been to something like this, and it was quite a spectacle. And speaking of racing against each other, there were 7 total tournament events or sessions that alternated between road course and oval racing. So there was 4 road events and 3 oval events. I'll have 2 separate recaps for those, and they're actually already up so you can check them out. Actually, I'm going to put 2 annotations here. You just click on them if you want to check those out. So back to Wednesday, there was originally some racing set up for that evening, but due to all the setup of the 5 additional public rigs and just setup in general, those were postponed until Thursday a.m. Matter of fact, I was there until almost midnight helping with the setup of those 5 additional rigs. When we left that night, there was a slight problem. The weather turned nasty, and what started as freezing rain then turned to snow. And snow in Dallas basically brings the city to a halt. This delayed the Thursday morning festivities till noon due to the road conditions. So the weather put a slight damper on things and probably stopped some locals from making the trip with all their gear. Luckily, the rest of the seminar we had sunny skies, so the general attendance of the men's summit wasn't affected too bad. One of the coolest things about coming to this seminar is getting to check out a variety of setups from all the people that bring their personal rigs. Some were just set up at a table with their wheel, pedal sets, PC, and a monitor, and then some went all out. And here's a quick look at some of the setups that the guys brought to the seminar. Now you got to appreciate what these guys go through to bring their setup, because I know what it would take to bring my setup, and I just did a piece recently on it, so you can see how elaborate mine is. It would have probably taken a day to break it down and another full day to put it back up, so it really gives you a level of appreciation of what guys go through to go to this. And as a matter of fact, I was there a day early to watch Sion break down his rig, and I kind of took it for granted, I guess, last year, because his setup was already there when I got there. And watching him at his house break it down, and I don't have any footage of it, but Watching him break it all down and what he goes through to take it out of his man cave and bring it to the seminar is just, it's a feat in itself. I mean, it's probably, I would guess, at least 16 hours total, between 8 hours breaking down and 8 hours putting it back up. And then you got to think about it, he's got another 16 hours or so to break it down again and then take it home. So just Scion himself goes through a lot, and a lot of the 42 guys that brought their rigs, or I guess it was 41, 42 counting Scions, go through the same amount of labor and, you know, work to get their rigs there. So that was really cool to see. And a lot of guys, there was guys, but beyond the 42 attendees, like the guys that I mentioned from the UK, Australia, and Brazil that didn't have rigs, that could have been there to buy gear or just check out other people's setups. And that's one of the great things about this, is that it's not just about the racing. You can go there to scout what you may do for your rig in the future. So it's like a big car show, to be honest. So Michael Main had a booth with his sim rig setup, and he brought some of his main performance sim pedals to sell. There were classes or sessions by a variety of individuals that covered a variety of topics. David Cater was back again to talk about the new iRacing suspension model, as well as work with Ray Alfala on general oval racecraft. Wyatt Gooden held some classes on road racing, particularly with the GT3 cars. Michael Main had a session on the history of sim racing. Kyle Geary was there and had 2 classes on painting your cars in iRacing, one for beginners and then an advanced session. Fraser Marshall hosted a session on how to use iSpeed. I held a roundup on sim racing hardware that ended up with a Q&A. Otto Zabini was back to host some getting started in iRacing sessions for those that were at the Gateway Men's Summit that were new and or interested in iRacing. And then there was a handful of Q&A sessions, one with Wyatt Gooden where he discussed his real-world racing career as well as his sim racing career. Another one with Wyatt, Michael Main, and myself that was titled Q&A with the Gurus, and that was a lot of fun, where the 3 of us just sat up there or stood up there and answered questions, just any questions that the guys in the session wanted to ask, just about anything regarding sim racing, anyway, from hardware, racecraft, setup, all sorts of stuff. Tony Gardner, the iRacing president, was there and did a Q&A, answered some really cool questions, and I actually wish it was recorded because there was a lot of great questions asked, and Tony had answers for just about all of them. Some things like track surface that's coming out, DX11, the Aston Martin GT1 car that's going to be available probably by the next build. Lots of cool stuff in that session. And then Eddie Gossage was back again, who's the president of the Texas Motor Speedway, and he was there to talk about the track, NASCAR, racing in general, and some Q&A, and that was a lot of fun. Another cool thing about the session is that there was free food the whole time. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner was provided for all the iRace4Life attendees. So it was some good food. Barbecue, Tex-Mex, some great sandwiches, some Italian. It was just, you know, and a lot of times catered food isn't the best. Every one of the meals was just awesome. So there was also other things not related to sim racing going on at the Gateway Church Men's Summit, and I'll talk more about that at the tail end of this piece, but now I'm gonna focus on the iRace4Life stuff. So the centerpiece of the iRace4Life seminar is the racing and the camaraderie. All the sim racing setups were provided electrical hookups and a wired internet connection, and that's another thing that's honestly taken for granted when this is put together. You know, a lot of people comment that they would love to see this in their hometown or in Canada or Australia or in Europe. And I'm sure Scion and myself, I would love to put on events like this elsewhere, but I mentioned the Gateway Church, and it's a gigantic facility, and they are really the ones that provide all of the logistical support to make this happen, with Scion being the lead. And it's just, honestly, the cost of doing something like this outside of the Gateway for Church, I guess, you know, a lot of you out there may take it for granted. It would be expensive. Hardwired internet connections to almost 50 rigs, power supplies for almost 50 rigs, and the space. So on top of the connections and all that stuff, there was 3 big screens that were showing the action live from the races. And then to top it off, the 7 tournament session podium finishers were awarded prizes that were donated by some of the many generous sponsors: DSD button boxes, Logitech headsets, iAnalyze racing subscription, and iRacing credits. There were also Texas Motor Speedway Sprint Cup tickets and some other stuff. Overall, Landon Harrison was the big winner of the tournaments and was on the podium in 5 of the 7 races. On the road side, Amjed Yaman made the podium in 3 of the 4 races with a win and 2 seconds. And on the oval side, Landon was on the podium for all 3 races with a win in 2 seconds. So during the event and after some of the tournaments, I got to sit down with some of those podium finishers and talk about their races. But I also got to talk to them about the iRace4Life seminar in general, their setups, and here it is. So let's talk a little bit about your setup and coming to the iRace4Life. This is your first year, right?
Yes.
What do you think about this? Just how everything is.
Oh, it's amazing. Just for me, it's not just the event, it's also putting names to faces, because online, all you get to hear, you only hear the voice. Sometimes you get a little text chat, but to meet them in person, to shake their hands, that's all it's all about.
So I got a question for you. So I know for me, when I'm racing online and meet people online, I kind of get a picture in my head of what that person may or may not look like. So was anybody completely different than what you had expected?
Not exactly. I mean, I figured, most people would be, kind of in the middle age range. It's different from other computer games where you have the young people. In sim racing, you have a little bit more of the older people. So
how old are you, by the way?
I'm 26.
Okay, so you're still young.
Yeah, ancient in PC gaming years.
Yeah, I guess so. So I guess I'm like a dinosaur in
almost
PC gaming years. So what do you think about coming to an event like this and racing, against your peers, guys that you know, and being able to race in an environment like that? You like it?
That's fun, yeah. It's definitely a lot more gratifying at the end, where you can talk to everybody about the race as opposed to
and win
in person.
Prize?
Yeah, and win a prize. Yeah, absolutely. As opposed to just saying, "All right, guys, good race, bye." Which is the way it normally goes.
Is that your first time on the podium, or winning one of these races at iRace4Life, or have you won prizes before?
Last year I won one at
I thought so. You look familiar from somebody that. So what do you think about this whole the iRace4Life tournament?
Oh, it's great.
Seminar.
It's great. I've been a member with the iRace4Life too for 2 years now, donating when I win, and it's just a great organization.
It is. It's really cool. So what do you think about racing in person like this? With your fellow competitors basically sitting right across from you, and then being able to talk about it. It's cool,
always fun. Again, that's another really good part about this is meeting people with similar interests and hobbies, and it's really good getting together. Putting faces with voices or names or whatever you see.
And then being able to talk. I got some footage of you guys all talking after the race. It's pretty cool to be able to do that.
Oh, it's awesome. It is awesome.
That's really cool.
Correction.
How'd you find out about this?
iRacing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you saw it in the forums or?
Well, yeah, they do it on the advertising. It's out to the sides of the main screen and stuff, and just clicked on it. Just checking it out and everything, and decided I'd come and felt like I could gain a lot of information, and came last year. Like I said, I told Cy, if I knew the rest of the stuff that went on aside from the racing stuff, I'd have come just for that. That's great. It is. It really is. The racing's just icing on the cake. I mean, just to be able to come out here and be a part of the men's summit and a part of everything else that goes on, it's great.
What do you think about this? Is this your second year here at iRace4Life?
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Obviously, you enjoyed it since you're back.
Yeah. Well, I like the thing with racing. Well, video games, even though iRacing is more of a racing simulation, you don't really see the faces that you're racing, so it's cool to come out, meet a whole bunch of drivers, and actually put faces to names that you maybe see on the track every week and race around and just have a blast, just doing all sorts of mixed racing genres.
So, is there added pressure running in an environment like this? Do you feel the added pressure? Is it different than, I know for me it is. And I kind of thrive on it. I like running in this type of environment. But how do you feel about it? Do you like, being able to see your competitor right next to you? Because actually you were racing against Tony, and he was right across from you.
Yeah.
I got some great shots of both of you at the same time. You guys were racing so close to each other.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of pressure. Like, I definitely don't want to mess up. Or I feel that, need not to mess up more, because I know that the guy I'm racing is, 10 feet away or something. So.
And afterwards,
maybe,
you're going to probably be talking to him.
Yeah, we might have a little scuffle maybe if I get into him, which I don't want to do that. So might be some fist flying if ever. Right? So.
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen.
So yeah, it's and we'll just get up and discuss the race, and it's like mainly we're just having fun. Like, yeah, there's a competitive aspect to it, but and we all want to win, but I think just everybody just wants to have fun on the track, and just that's mainly what we're doing.
On top of the tournaments, there were other ways to win prizes, and they were via raffle tickets. Every attendee got a raffle ticket for just registering, and then there was raffle tickets given out for the general session. Some of those prizes were iAnalyze subscriptions, an Oculus Rift DK2 that was won by Tony Duffy, more tickets to the sprint car race at Texas Motor Speedway, and the grand prize for the seminar was an Obuto Revolution chassis and a set of main performance sim pedals, and the grand prize winner was Ethan Moore. So congratulations, Ethan. I'm sure you had fun setting up your new toys. So congratulations again for that. So I said I was going to give you guys more detail on the Men's Summit, and that's what I'm going to transition to now. The iRace4Life seminar is just part of a much larger event at the Gateway Church in Southlake, Texas, called the Men's Summit. The Men's Summit takes place annually at the Gateway Church to help men discover their strengths as a husband, father, businessman, and leader. They recognize that every man has an innate desire to be part of something bigger than himself. They accomplish this through Men's Summit, Gearing Up Men's Night, Men's Group, Project Mentor, and other special events like the iRace4Life seminar. They want to empower men to impact their workplace, communities, and most importantly, their families for the kingdom of God. So there's a lot to get out of it. And then on top of that, it's not just about going to those sessions. They have cars, hot rods, and David Cater brought his purple Harley and his purple Petty modified Dodge that was just awesome. They had a basketball deal going on, and barbecue, and so there's just a lot to do, and it's all for men. Video games, people playing pool, ping pong, hacky sack. I mean, there's just so many things to do there. It's really cool. So you should start planning your trip to Southlake, Texas for next year and join us for the 5th annual iRace4Life seminar. Attendees of the Men's Summit pay $70 for early bird registration, and then $85 if there's still spaces available on site. And this year it was sold out with 4,000 attendees. And I gotta say, those 5 rigs that were set up had non-stop potential sim racers trying it out. There was a line to try those 5 rigs out. It was just really cool to see all the new potential sim racers checking those out. Here's the deal though, if you sign up for the iRace4Life portion, it's free, but space is limited. There's only so many free spots for the iRace4Life guys. So to register, head on over to iRace4Life.org, or you can call 817-552-7622. So I hope you enjoyed my coverage of the 2015 iRace4Life seminar. Thanks for watching. I'm Darren Ganji for Inside Sim Racing. I'll see you guys next time.